Hi, everybody. Very, very happy Merry Christmas on this 1613th day. Um, yeah, 13th day. Let's see if I'm on. So, okay, I'm on. So, I just wanted to come on and wish everybody a very Merry Christmas. Um, don't forget to celebrate the ones you love, your family. And be kind to others. I know my mom was talking about this lady in New York that nobody helped. We just cannot lose our humanity. We need to care about others. And I think that if our culture cared more about each other, what happened to Richard couldn't have happened on Fort Bliss. Um, no, and all the other soldiers that have been hurt. It couldn't happen if we really did have each other's six. And on Christmas, it's sorry, we've been having a great day and lots of singing and um, you know, I think the ultimate I have your six is Jesus, right? It's just Christmas, um, the crash, it was really a great message today, and I concur from our church service that it should just stop you, like just just stop you in your tracks when you think of this miracle and that has lasted through the ages. With no problem finding critics through the ages, and yet it has gone through the ages. Um, because there's so much evidence, you see. So when you have those that want to deliver false narratives and do a smear campaign and direct the course of history, they just can't because they're not God. They're just creatures. We're just creatures. We're not God, and nothing could stop Christmas. Nothing can stop it. And that's why I hope everyone takes out time and reflects, uh, and look into all the information about Christmas. So it'll put a skip in your walk, you know, after you pause and think about it. And Jesus had our six. God has our six. And if we would just take his example and care about humanity, care about each other, uh, do not let the criminals get away with what they're doing, we would be far better off. We would be really caring, right? We would be really demonstrating love. And I know that in these last decades, it's all about love, right? Love wins and all that. And yet, um, it's been the time of the most pedophilia, the most child trafficking, the most fentanyl trafficking, just all kinds of trafficking, weapons, just a lot of hate going on. So I think we need to take the example from Jesus, um, take God's word for it, and his will be done, not ours. And just think about humanity, selfless service, the Medal of Honor ethos, we would be esprit de corps, right? Esprit de corps. We would be so much better off and have a um, we wouldn't have these horrific situations that our family has been put through, and so many other families, and so many others. Um, and the perpetrators, they will paint themselves as pretty. You saw I posted up um, Michael Xavier Garrett's letter test, 4-star general. He's absolutely implicated in all of this. Okay, he's up to no good, and yet they will, they'll try to talk a pretty picture to you or whatever. Try to be sweet to you while working behind your back against your son's remains. Yeah. So he's not an example of I have your six. He's not a good example at all of a leader. I think that's why Christmas is so important, because it really is the ultimate example of a true leader. And look what he's accomplished. And it's going to, and it hasn't even started. I don't think it hasn't even started. Um the real good stuff, right? The wonderful things that we have to look forward to. And so with Richard's case, it has given us a huge lesson to understand that we might not understand what's going to happen in the future, but that we know that justice is going to come, and we have to work for that. Keep working for the justice, and the justice will come. And then how it happens, and what happens, and who gets arrested first. I mean, right now uh, the people that look like they're heading the charge of getting arrested first is Bill Hicks and Leilani Hart. They're the ones that look like they're going to be arrested first, but you never know. It could be Joe Spencer. It could be Judge Sam Madrano. It could be Dallas Wayne Hart. It could be James Hart, right? It could be James Courtney Hart. It could be Michael Garrett. Because right now, President Trump is absolutely has his eyes on the generals that, you have to understand Michael Garrett was a force com general. And we cannot forget what happened to Vanessa Guillen. Okay? We cannot forget what happened to Vanessa Guillen. We cannot forget what happened to Richard. And so, he is absolutely not forgotten by those that want to hold the criminals accountable. And for those that were responsible for the health and well being of our service members. Vanessa Guillen was brutally murdered on Fort Hood. Okay. Uh, Richard was brutally murdered on Fort Bliss. Those military installations should be the safest place for our soldiers. Nobody should be getting brutally murdered like that. And the cover up, because there was absolutely a cover up in Vanessa Guillen's case, and there's absolutely a cover up in Richard's case. So what we're hearing now on this Christmas day, where God is manifesting himself as a poor man, right? As a poor man, coming into the world as a poor man, a poor baby, an infant in a manger, in a straw manger, right? It is, and being hunted down, because they knew who he was. They knew who he was because the stars aligned. The time had come, and that time was December 25th. There's no mistaking that it's December 25th. That was the time. And the sun and the moon and the stars and the eclipses all line up with historical records to prove it was December 25th. So there's an order to all things. It's not by chance. It's not by chance. And that's why we know that if we're diligent, if we keep going, if we keep investigating, look at what all has been exposed. It's absolutely mind-boggling, and we had no idea at all. And so now, because we have reported, we get a really wonderful gift on Christmas. And that is that President Trump has come out and said that he's going to work hard, that murderers and those that hurt children in the worst kind of way, that those should be death penalty crimes. That means there needs to be justice. There needs to be justice. And we agree. We absolutely agree with him that when you hurt children like that in the worst kind of way, I think God commands the death penalty. And when you commit murder, premeditated murder, code red murder, to a whistleblower, to a soldier, that's a death penalty crime. And so for those that are so afraid that they don't, for those that don't want to help, that are so afraid, and I don't know, they have a lot on these soldiers, y'all. They have devised a system where they bring in these young girls into the barracks. They bring in the drugs, they bring in the weapons, and they film it. And I think that's blackmail. I think they use it as blackmail. And we have the reports, even of the extortion. That's why they did the 15-6. And of course, Sean Bernabe doing a 15-6 is laughable, is absolutely laughable. And the results of it were laughable. Not laughable meaning funny, but they expose the criminals. Absolutely, they expose the criminals. So thank you. So much love to you on Christmas Eve, and justice for Richard. Thank you, Heather. Thank you so much. Thank you for agreeing. Yeah. They absolutely, what they've done to our volunteer sons and daughters, It is, and what they've done to the families to not be forthright, to not confess. You know, confession is the cure of souls, and they don't confess what happened. They cover up, and it causes so much pain. And it gets a lot more people involved because it takes so many more people for the cover up. And then they're implicated. And you don't want to be implicated in a premeditated murder that deserves the death penalty, right? You don't want to be part of that. And that's what they've done with their, scheming and their just cover up, cover up, cover up. So, yeah, on this Christmas, there's just a lot of good news. And that good news, when you're dealing with this kind of subject, it's not always happy, right? It's not always happy news because you know that people have done something to humanity that's so bad that they don't deserve to live. And that's not something you can be really happy about. And think about little baby Jesus. They were scheming. They were scheming after him, and the scheming killed a lot of innocent children and hurt a lot of families. And every child that was killed, that was a talented individual that was killed. And we'll never know, right? God knows, but we won't know. But they didn't get Jesus. They didn't get him. They could. You see, when something is ordained, um, you just have no chance of winning. Zero chance of winning if you're a criminal. And that's what's going on here. Um, the leadership, they don't have a chance of winning. And they've schemed and schemed, and they brought more and more people into it that implicates them. And instead of just um, having Richard Six and confessing what happened, they'd have been much better off. Um, Fewer people would have been hurt. So I hope that makes sense. And, it makes Christmas that much more special. I mean, um, because, you just look at it so different. He is God, that he manifests himself as a poor man, as a poor baby, a poor infant, very vulnerable, right? But with amazing parents that are protecting him. And he's not alone. He's not unaccompanied. These unaccompanied children, 325,000, those are taken. Don't tell me there's hundreds of thousands of unaccompanied children just walking around, coming up and wanting to be registered on Fort Bliss. No, those are taken children. And now we know that they're mostly dead. And so, for the information that we're getting, that Fort Bliss is very nervous because they're being called a death camp. That's what happens when you start covering up and covering up for crimes. The crimes get worse and worse. And then all of a sudden, Fort Bliss is called a death camp because of all the deaths, because of all the pain. And so the information coming out is that the death penalty is on the table. And it should be. And it should be. The evil has to be restrained, right? They cannot operate with impunity. Nobody's above the law, right? Nobody's above the law. So, yeah, that is the big news. Of course, Bill Hicks is the big news with Kelly Childress. She is a public defender. That's big news that she's coming out against Bill Hicks, against the DA's office to really, it looks like he's going to be arrested. But we'll see. There's a lot of covering up here. And, she failed to mention, sorry, that, the watchdogs, death penalty for those who are harming children. Absolutely. Agreeing with everything you have spoken. I hear you. Justice for PV2, Caleb Smither. Yes. Mm-hmm. And if those that are watching that don't know who Caleb is, Caleb Smither, he also at the very beginning of 2020 was found in his barracks room. And it was, I have my opinions on that, and I'm sure his mother has those same opinions. The barracks should absolutely be the safest place and the most watched place, because those are our volunteer sons and daughters that are our service members. And we allocate all kinds of security money and everything that the military wants, we've given them so that they can have this hierarchy to take care of our volunteer sons and daughters and keep them as safe as possible, right? As safe as possible. And in the barracks, absolutely safe. I mean, this is on U.S. soil. This is not on foreign land. And we just have a failure in leadership everywhere you turn. Everywhere you turn. And in Richard's case, absolutely failure of leadership in El Paso. With trafficking, Fort Bliss being used as the trafficking hub for child trafficking, drug trafficking, and weapons and ammunition trafficking, also equipment and child corn, absolutely extortion of our soldiers. And this was all under Michael Garrett. Michael Xavier Garrett. Yeah. So, that's his command. That was Richard's 4-star general. And the response that he gave us, I posted today, was just to wish us a Merry Christmas. Knowing that our son had been murdered and kept that from us. Knowing that our son had been dismembered and kept that from us. Knowing that our son was a whistleblower and kept that from us. Yeah. and more, knowing that they were trafficking. And sorry, you cannot carry on that kind of trafficking connected to the cartel without a 4-star general knowing it. No way. So, the information we're getting from the Trump campaign, or not the campaign, but the president-elect, the Trump administration coming in, is the generals, and of course that's already starting to happen. It's like a Trump effect, right? The generals, first and foremost, the 4-star generals, and that for murder and for hurting children in the worst kind of way, the death penalty. So that's our news. And I'm so glad that we have Christmas. A lot of lessons in there. So glad we have it. And the government shall be on his shoulder. On his shoulder. So glad. Okay, make sure I got all of this. Yes. Yes, thank you so much for coming on. And if you have any information about this whole situation, you can call 941-677-0060 and just leave some messages. Thank you so much, everyone, and very Merry Christmas. And we'll be back tomorrow. Thank you.